Welcome, everyone. It is a great pleasure to open and moderate our third ARTNET on STI Policy Conversation. Today, we will explore the future of innovation hubs. We know that the geographical proximity of firms, research institutions, and innovation facilitators helps for innovation. And this is because collocation enables technology transfer and the flow of knowledge. And it can also provide jobs to local residents, help attract talent, investors, and innovative firms, and boost the impact of research institutions. There are many different forms of collocation and innovation hubs, from industrial clusters to science and technology parks or innovation districts. And these hubs, they may form spontaneously through organic development, or they may be planned and constructed through deliberate policy action. We know this is an area of interest for government officials, academic leaders, and companies. Currently, there are 175 science parks across Asia and the Pacific. However, efforts to construct innovation clusters, such as science and technology parks, do not always manage to stimulate knowledge flows and the upgrading of innovative firms. Geographic proximity in itself is not sufficient to foster innovation and technology transfer. Today, we will explore two mechanisms or two different models of innovation hubs. We will explore an innovation center and innovation districts. And we will hear about their key distinctive features, their enablers, and how they are addressing the challenges of constructing an innovation hub through policy action. And we have today two distinguished panelists to present these two different models. We have Mr. Ivan Bogdanov, who is the head of Industrial Liaison Office at the Department for Strategy and Industry at Skolkovo Institute of Science and Technology in Moscow. Good morning, Ivan. And we also have Dr. Pun-Arj Chairatana, who is the Executive Director of the National Innovation Agency of Thailand. Good morning, Pun-Arj.
Sawadee krab.
Sawadee krab. Let's now turn to our first panelist, Ivan. The Skolkovo Innovation Center in Moscow, where you are, is an example of an innovation hub built entirely from scratch. Could you please let us know a bit more about your innovation center, how it came to be, and if you could highlight one achievement that you're really proud of from the Skolkovo Innovation Center in Moscow. Over to you, Ivan.
Sure. Hello, dear colleagues. I'm really glad to be speaking here today. Of course, I'm glad to answer the questions and to share our experience. I prepared a couple of slides. I will not bother you with the slides, but just to make some of the figures that I will give more visually nice. If you don't mind, I will switch on the slides. I'd like to give just a couple of words about technoparks in Russia in general, so that you have a feeling what place Skolkovo Innovation Center is taking on the map of technoparks of Russia. Then I will tell about Skolkovo and actually write Marta how managed to do it, and well, what did we achieve? And then I'll be glad to answer the questions. So in general, I think that we are now living in the era of open innovation. Innovation management and innovation process is transformed. And in this time, in this era, technoparks and innovation parks take a huge role. I think it's, I will call it probably kind of a road to innovation. A road meaning that is a necessary infrastructure to have innovation in the economy. Like when you have a city, you need to have a road. If you want to have innovation, you also need to have a road. And this road is technoparks and innovation parks. Just some figures about Russian landscape. Growing of technoparks in Russia began when we had our first support program from the state. So I think that technoparks is really a sphere that needs governmental support. It started in 2006. Then we understood that technoparks need a critical legislative support because it's huge workload in terms of laws and other stuff. And we started an association which helps technoparks to do this. And then only in 2017, there was born a national standard answering the question, actually, what is technopark and what is not a technopark. And later in 2018, we created a new standard called industrial technopark. It's important to Russia. It's actually technopark, but it has special industrial facilities. This is the difference. And 2 years ago, a new support program of technoparks started in Russia. So actually, this graph is just to give you the vision of the dynamics of the growth of technoparks in Russia. Now, today, we have about 180 technoparks all over Russia. And some of them are built on the university model. So this model is not for profit, it's more for developing the entrepreneurial competences of students and professors. Some of them are of innovative model. This is what Skolkovo comes from. So this model is for making startups and new innovation companies. This technoparks are usually built around some research center. There is also infrastructure model when you have big infrastructure for high-tech production. And there's also a cooperative model when at the center of technopark, there's some industrial enterprise. This is how we divide technoparks in Russia. I don't know, maybe in your country, in your region is different, but well, I like this division. It makes rather visual what technoparks are in Russia. So my example is Skolkovo Innovation Park, or just Skolkovo or Skolkovo Innovation Center. Well, actually different names, but it's the name Skolkovo. This innovation park is on innovation model. So the right up corner. So it is built around a research and scientific center. It was built from scratch, absolutely from scratch. I wanted to put a picture of just a plain field that was 10 years ago, but I decided why? You can just take a picture of any field, empty field, and this is how Skolkovo looked like 10 years ago. This is a model when you have serious federal funding, because you have to build all the infrastructure. And this is a model that we took from actually MIT. Massachusetts Institute of Technologies. They had a very nice story. They opened their university. It is located in Boston, and for 20 years, the bank of river where the MIT is standing was surrounded by the companies, innovation companies, and the offices of corporations. It was also a plain bank of the river. And then in 10 years, in 20 years, it became surrounded by companies. So this is the model that Skolkovo is built. As you see on the picture, it's a huge city. So it's a city, you can live there. You have houses, apartments, train stations, stores, kindergarten, school, and of course, a beautiful infrastructure for innovations and technology making. So it's a special economic zone. It's special custom zone. Companies there and startups there have special tax conditions. What is really huge, we have own regulation system, and we have own medical program. For example, some clinics from all over the globe can't open the clinic in Russia because of the regulation, but we in Skolkovo, we can, because we have separate regulation, and it's great. And we also have our own standards. It really helps when you have some test bed and there's no standard for it, and you need somewhere to make this pilot. Skolkovo is very nice for it. I think it's great. Here are some figures about Skolkovo, and one more picture just to show you how it looks like, what is there. This round building is actually the university. It's a huge research and scientific center, Skoltech. Actually, this is where I belong to. And this city is 10 years old, as I told you. And our key model, our key mission is, of course, innovation commercialization. This is why MIT was our partner, and MIT, we learned from MIT many things. Answering the question, Marta, on how we made to do this, how we managed to build it, I figured out 5 points. I think that first two points actually show the critical role of government, of course, because you understand that to build such an innovation city in the field, you need huge federal investments and other federal support, lots of legislative support, a huge way of legislative support to make a separate federal law. We have a separate federal law for Skolkovo Innovation Center, which gives us these rights and opportunities. And of course, infrastructure. I don't know, for example, to build a train station near the city, a new train station, a new road, it's of course all the role of the government. I think that going to the third point, what is really important as a growth factor of such story is critical success stories. Why I put it here? Because when you have this empty techno park, it's already built, and when, for example, our technopark building was constructed, I walked through this building and it's empty, and I was really scared and frightened. Oh my God, how will we feel this huge technopark with companies, with talents, with people, with equipment? And here, that's why I put this point, critical success stories, because when you have first serious success stories, it attracts people. And first success stories are really hard to make because you don't have reputation, you don't have infrastructure yet. And, you know, these first projects, no matter what, R&D projects, business projects, you have to do them. You have to put all your efforts to make them successful and to show them to the world, to say that, hello, we're here, look how we can do. I think it's very important. The fourth point, I put strong sales team, because we have a very strong sales team in Skolkovo, and also a sales team in Skolkovo Institute of Science and Technologies, you see, because it's business to make technological projects with partners, with corporations, is business. And I think that a strong sales team capable of doing business deals, of looking for partners, of building networking is important. And the final point, I put key partner. Well, our partner was MIT, but it could be anybody who has such experience. But I'm sure that, well, without MIT, probably we couldn't do it, because you need somebody who knows how to do it, who knows where to go, and who knows what to do. So our achievements, of course, are more than 2,500 startups, and I think that if you look at the technological projects that they're doing, I think it's of course a great achievement. I also think that Skoltech has done a lot. We are the only young university in Russia which is in Nature Index. Actually, it happened in 2019, and we're really proud of it. And I think it is also a huge achievement for us, building it all for 10 years from scratch. So this is it. Thank you for your time. This is my message, and I will be glad to answer the questions.
Thank you so much, Ivan, for sharing with us in a very few slides snapshot of the Skolkovo Innovation Park and how it became to be. We'll have a bit more of time to dig into some of the issues and key enablers that you've mentioned. But let me first give the opportunity to Dr. Chairatana to explain and to share with us another way of promoting, of supporting innovation in based on geography. So Dr. Pun-Arj will be very glad if you could share with us the work that Thailand has been doing in proactively promoting innovation districts. Maybe if you can tell us a bit what are innovation districts and then how the National Innovation Agency is promoting them in Thailand. And of course, any achievement that you have achieved so far and that you're proud of. Over to you, Pun-Arj.
Thank you. Let my colleagues share my slides. First of all, thank you very much, Marta, to have me to share with you and our audience all around the region and the world about innovation districts developments in Thailand. First of all, we have a concept so-called area-based innovation. The innovation that's mainly focused on the area. Our colleagues from Russia, he mainly focused on the project that's calling Science Park and the rest of the accessibilities of the Science Park. While our concepts on area-based innovation has 3 layers. The smallest layer we call innovation districts, which is mainly focused in the cities or maybe in the suburban area. When you have some district that's mainly focused on innovation, it can be a science park over there, hospital, or innovation physical infrastructure and connect together with intensification. And you can walk around, that's a physical area, that's we call innovation districts. When we connect the district together, it can represent the facades of the cities. That's why we call it city innovation. And within the city innovation, we have connectivity, so-called innovation corridor. Let's move on to the next slide. The next slide will show the concept that has been established 5 years ago. The smallest dot, so-called district, the biggest dot is the city, and then we join it and connect it through the corridor. At this moment, we have a corridor to make it as a value creation trail, a city as connecting the dot or even creating a new dot, so-called new startups or new firms, and utilize physical infrastructure within the districts. That's why districts represent the things that's very important, inclusiveness. That's why innovation or area-based innovation brings all people together, and it is a paradigm innovation. Currently, we have around 10 active innovation districts, around 2 million square meters actively engaging between private and public sector and universities. And we actively engage with 5 innovation cities and 3 corridors, North, Northeastern, and Bangkok, and Eastern Economic Corridor. Next slide, please. We have specific sectors that we develop, ranging from medical, agriculture, food, cyber technologies, and so on. But the key stakeholder comprise of 4 specific groups of institutions. So you can call it as 4 dimension innovation systems or quadruple innovation system. We have universities, research and technology organizations, corporate, mainly big corporate, or even a public enterprise, and also local government. At this moment, you can see that we in the same umbrellas of the universities. NAA is under Ministries of Higher Education, Research, Science and Innovation. This is the newest ministries in Thailand. We have only 3 years old. Before that, we are under Ministry of Science and Technologies. So this is the work that we merge higher education segment from Ministry of Education to a new ministries, and the name is the longest names of the ministries. That's why we have around 140 universities working with us, and we carefully select the university that operate science park, the university that have their own business incubation program work with us, and we have some our colleagues from the ex-Ministry of Science and Technologies or Research and Technology Organization, and some other ministerial research organization working with us, because we mainly focus on the new establishment, so-called deep tech regionalization in 5 areas: agriculture, food, medical, AI or robotics, and also immersive technology, including space technologies. That's why we need to work closely with universities and RTO that they have their own facility in the region. And we pick some key large national corporation in Thailand. For example, if you take a look on this slide, the corporate that's in the light blue logo is called Midpon. Midpon is the 3rd largest sugar companies in the world. It happened to be Thai companies. Now they decided to move all of research and innovation facility of Bangkok and to Khon Kaen cities. And we started to work with them on the old downtown, to transform the old downtown into the innovation districts that mainly focus on deep technology in agriculture, food, and also in art and craft. We work closely with the biggest medical and hospital cluster, Payathai Group, and also PTTs on specific area in Bangkok and also in EEC. So this is the model that we work closely with a big corporation, including MQDC, which I will present you later about our success. MQDC is an initiative of the youngest daughter of one of the richest man in Thailand. You may heard about CP Group or Cherry Pokapan Group. This is construction companies that have their own foresight unit, and they have their own so-called digital parks in the heart of Bangkok. That's why we work closely with them on the projects to transform the Sukhumvit Road, which is a very business-oriented road, into cyber districts. And lastly, we work with local government and the central government to make the local government as a project owner. Next slide, please. This is the second experience. The first one is on creating trust partnership among 4 specific group of stakeholders. The second one is on creating real experience between private and local-led communities. That's why I would like to show you this is a success story to merge 2 districts together. We merge Kroi Nam Thai manufacturing and urban industrial district, that which is in the top left of the map, with Cybertech district. We call Bangkok Cybertech district, which is the MQDC development mainly focused on transforming the southern part of Sukhumvit Road to be cyber securities and also digital startup investment hub. But it happened to be more than that. The first 3 years, we mainly focused on grading system, trying to develop a platform and also the scenario or even a physical transformation plans for big private sectors, mainly focused with MQDC. But later, we expand it into Bangchak. Bangchak is the 3rd largest energy companies in Thailand. It happened to be the government companies that's mainly focused on sustainable development and alternative energies. And also we work closely with the MICE industries, companies like the mall groups or Bytech, which is in the bottom south of the map. You can see that is this MICE tech and retail tech. It's creating new identities of this area, because this area so far from the past to present, this is the in the downtown so-called harbor, and also the port authority of Thailand headquarters. So it's mixed between slum dweller and also the port, and also energy hub, and which is not that nice for the heart of Bangkok. That's why we have a very good collaboration from big corporates to agree to transform this into deep tech startups and livable area. Next slide, please. So this is the works of the second phase for the past 3 years. This is just this year. We agree among our key stakeholders, including local community leaders, that we will create tech corridor with zero money from the taxpayer. The private sector and large corporation will invest on their own piece of land, and we ask Bangkok metropolitan government to link the public transportation and skywalk together, so that we can create around 5 kilometer longs of transportation to link energy hub, cyber tech, and also MICE tech together, and create the first tech corridor in Bangkok. Next slide, please. So this is our tools. We have 4 main tools: gridding, design, transform the physical infrastructure, and planning, and have a clear vision among all key stakeholders. And then we keep continuing on key activities within the so-called innovation districts. And then we try to communicate both in Thai and also in English, so that people can understand what really means innovation district. And at the end of the day, we need to have some measurement, which is I going to talk later. We call Innovation City Index. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pun-Arj, for this very brief introduction into innovation districts in Thailand. And we've seen that the focus here is on making those connections and building partnerships on existing stakeholders in the city, or in certain areas of the city, and creating or visualizing jointly how further that area could be developed. Before we move into digging deeper into some of the points that you've presented, we have a question from the audience, from Julia Nikitina. And I see that, Ivan, you've started to respond to that question, but perhaps let's do it live if you don't mind. I think it's a very interesting question about human capital. How do we ensure that when we are promoting this innovation areas, we have the capital, the required capital that we need with the skills, either the technical, the research, or the innovative skill ones? So Ivan, over to you.
Thank you very much. I really already started typing the answer, but I'm glad to answer it openly. I think the Technopark and Innovation Center need lots of experts, actually. A huge number of experts, very different. Experts in some equipment, experts in legislation, experts in working with professors, and well, the list is really long. I don't think that people with that all technoparks need this innovative type of people, because some technoparks just don't use this model. But of course, those who use innovation thinking is critical, because it's actually not just kind of a model, it's the way of thinking. Well, it's nice, it's the best picture when each and every person in Technopark or in your company is innovative. It's well, it's the best, but at least the core team the core team, which deals with innovation, with grants, with support of startup companies. Of course, these people should be the people who understand what is innovation. Innovation is not magic. I want to say this. It's not that you are born with innovative thinking and somebody is not born with this innovative thinking and he's a failure. It's not like this. It's not magic. You can learn it. There are lots of programs. There are lots of models. For example, one of the models is called MIT. It's called Market Implementation Technology. So MIT is our partner. So that's why I'm telling this. So and it's really educational program. You can go. You can learn. We have at Skoltech, we teach our students what is technological innovation. Many our graduates work in Skolkovo, in companies in Skolkovo. So we're creating these people for ourselves. I think it's great. But in general, there are many programs in Russia work with innovation. For example, I know one also in ITMO, Moscow State. What should change in the approach to education? That's part of your question. I think that all programs are different, and I can't say for sure what to change, but I'm sure that the critical component of this education is practice. So if you do it on some project, this is right, this is correct, this is how you get this practical knowledge. If you do it theoretically, it probably won't work. So here's my answer. Thank you for your question again.
Thank you very much, Ivan. And maybe very quickly, Pun-Arj, is there any specific skills that are that you see that are required to promote innovation districts?
Thank you. I think for the tools and the things that I mentioned earlier, they are for specific dimension. But if we take a look on the complexity, and you ask the first question, what is innovation districts? Measurements quite important, and which dimension that we are going to measure. I think there are at least 7 specific dimensions that we should take it as a precaution and also key dimension for innovation districts. The first one is investment. When we develop innovation district, we need to measure on the private investment, both on physical infrastructures or on the deal flows among tech companies or even large corporation working together in an open innovation platform. This is a very good measurement that innovation districts already paid off because you have innovation investment. The second one is on how we bring in more and new key stakeholders, not only business, but also local communities. For example, when you have a lot of people that's not mainly integrate or work in innovation particularly, but they live there, you have to have a process to buy in from them. This is the part of their journeys and part of their life. That's why key stakeholder partnership very important. The third one is on network access. We need to bring in more people and new faces that become a new innovator in the area. And the fourth one is on strategies and also planning. We have to have the same and share vision. And the things that quite important too is on physical asset development and utilization, and also database platform that we can work together. And at the end of the day, the continuing activities for people to getting around and understand the brand and also the beat of the innovation district.
Okay, thank you. So, Pun-Arj, for highlighting what are the different elements that you need to develop these innovation districts and how you are measuring it. My understanding is that the success, for example, of innovation districts or the success of science and technology parks were measured by how large they were, the level of investments, and how many researchers were in the place. While if we really want to promote innovation districts or science and technology parks on their ability to support innovation and economic and social development, we need to measure those what you speak of interactions, number of new actors that are able to come in, the flow of knowledge, the level of technology transfer, etc. Ivan, how do you measure the success of Skolkovo Innovation Park?
Thank you, Marta. That's a very good question. And I think that there's no single answer how to measure success of such a big infrastructure, such a big project as Technopark or Innovation Center. Of course, there are KPIs. So I'm not saying no. And most of technoparks meet the KPIs. So actually, it's not a problem. But I'd like to compare the Technopark with, for example, 5G infrastructure. 5G is one of the areas technological areas that we are now working with. And I see a very common conversation about 5G infrastructure. People say, well, people from government say, well, why do we need to why do we need to invest into this infrastructure? Let's calculate how we get return on investment of this infrastructure. And it's very difficult to count the return on investment on 5G infrastructure. I think it's even impossible, or it should be some very complicated mathematical model. But the simple answer is that this infrastructure will force a huge economical growth. So you can't even calculate it, but on the instincts, you understand that it is necessary, absolutely necessary. So this is like the example with the road that I gave at the beginning. I think that sometimes you don't need to calculate the economy return on investment on the road or on the 5G infrastructure, because you just understand that it's necessary. I think that Technoparks Innovation Centers is kind of this infrastructure. It's probably the effect you can't measure just with the KPIs. I would be glad, I'll be happy, and this is things that we are really looking at. For example, the interest of people in Skolkovo. We see that there are 60 applications per one place in our master program. And I think that this is a success, because this means that we're doing something right and correct. I see the number of business partners growing, and more and more requests are coming from business. And I also think that this means that we're doing something right. If business needs us, it's always a very good sign. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Yes, you've answered in a different way than others may have answered, in first noting that it's a basic infrastructure, a science park, and therefore let's not focus so much on return of investment indicators, and let's build that basic infrastructure. I've also heard that actually you have some measures of what's the impact and interest on that science park, which can give you an idea of what's the interest and where at this stage of the development you see the interest, which is in the education first, where you have a lot of demand to participate in education activities, and then you may be seeing on the industrial side growing interest, which I think that also gives you valuable information on how you're going to further down the line fine-tune or strengthen your science and technology park. So thanks very much for these different views on the importance of measuring or not, and what to measure and at what stage of the development. Perhaps I want to hear these large projects, they require a lot of faith from different actors that will provide support from government, from different private sector actors and other support organizations. You've talked a bit, Ivan, about the role of the government in promoting Skolkovo Innovation Park, and I'm curious to know how it all began, how the first concept and this faith on developing a very large science and technology park came to be. Because I think at the first, as you say, when there's an empty land, when there's no company there, how do you develop that interest and that faith on the importance of having a science and technology park? And how do you maintain over time, of course, that interest? Over to you, Ivan.
Well, I think I'm afraid I will probably repeat some of the things that I told, because the answer is rather simple. So going back to success stories, you badly need to have the first project. I remember at Skoltech when we're on the virtual phase with no labs. Our students were studying abroad, and we had a chance to take first grants. It was industrial grants, and our professors' team, they said, "Oh no, we can't do this. It's impossible. We won't take this project." And our development team, with my boss, who was vice president for industrial cooperation, he told, "But we have to, because if we don't do this, we don't have this success story." And we took that time. We took 3 projects because, well, it was not a problem to win this competition, because we had a very strong team. We didn't have the infrastructure, and I think that people were not sleeping like for 3 months, but we did it. So this motivation, this art to create a motivation in a team to make the first project, like to die to this first project and to show that you can do this. This is what business is really looking at. I'm sure that results, some real results, and the problem when you are starting it is that you don't have the results. It's actually a problem of every startup. And when a technopark is a startup, it's the same. Just for a startup to make a pilot product is much easier than to make it for a technopark some pilot project. So this is it. I think also maybe governmental support here played a great role. I wouldn't call it a lobby, well, but government helped a lot to kind of bring some industrial corporations to pay attention to Skolkovo, saying like, well, friends, here's a new center of competences. They might be useful for you in something. Please take a closer look, pay attention. And you take this lead and you either work with this lead and also make it successful, or you fail. So this is also about, well, being efficient for business and showing results. I think that this is what makes this punch for your development to go further.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for highlighting the role of the government also in bringing those partners or speaking for the industrial park. And Pun-Arj, maybe if you want to discuss a bit more on how you are sustaining these innovation districts and making sure that they, first that sharing that notion and vision of innovation districts and then sustaining that effort over time.
The most important and crucial point is to have a positive view from the local and also the landowner within the innovation districts. That's very important one. Then they will ask about the activities and investment, including the roles of the government. That's why the cabinet resolutions come into place. Some innovation districts receive the cabinet resolution and it's following up with the government fund and budget so that we can develop a new activity and also creating new platform within the local and also the innovation district. But that's not enough. Financial instrument is not enough because when the government come into play, we need to have an incentive and also some specific bridging between government money and also private money. That's why we work closely with Board of Investment or BOI in Thailand to announce the district's benefit for private sectors. If they want to invest something more than digital or science park in the area within in the cities, they will have a top-up incentive and priorities, not only tax but also on the privilege. That's why we start working closely with BOI. And the last one is on the ease of doing innovation business. Because when we're talking about innovation districts, this is for all, not only for Thai people. We organized smart visa before the crisis and around the COVID-19 crisis. Around the COVID-19 crisis, we found that the applications of our smart visa that's already attached to innovation districts increased 3-fold. That's why quite a few number of people all around the world would like to move to Thailand, to Bangkok, to Chiang Mai, and to work closely within the innovation district that we already create. This is the way we're trying to sustain not only social dimension, but also from the private sector side, because we need to rely on them, not only the government-led so-called project from the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pun-Arj, for sharing the experience of the innovation districts. We have a couple of questions in the chat, so I will put it up for you.
I'm not sure I understand.
And one of these, what are the financing investment modalities to fund your respective innovation programs in your countries? Do you think that the public-private partnership will be an efficient mode for establishing think tanks, incubators nowadays? And what are the major challenges that you can foresee? And I think your answers on that will be helpful for those thinking to develop an innovation district or a science and technology park. Let's start maybe with Ivan first.
Yes, that's a very good question. I think for greenfield technoparks, of course, governmental funding is critical. But for example, Skolkovo, there were about 30% of private investment from corporations and from people with high investment, high income rate. So it's for sure public-private partnerships. I think that it goes from governmental funding to co-investment from private investors. And for example, Skolkovo, we are planning to be financially independent in 5-10 years, because Skolkovo started starting making our own money, and this is the model. So you take money from government, you attract private partners, and then you start making your own money. I think this is the main problem. The issues and challenges, well, I think the same. To make business partners believe in you. I think this is the main challenge, and for this you need to have great projects, great success stories, and very good business models, not to fail. So I think this is it.
Thank you very much, Ivan. And Pun-Arj, anything that you would like to add on the types of models to promote innovation districts?
Well, we use a private-led financial model That's why we spend a little bit chunk of the government money as the first stage of development, working on planning, working on key stakeholder analysis and activities that we bring in people together. But we try to identify the key players, the landowner, and also the investor that's already invest in the cities. That's why the real estate developers and also the big corporate that's working on tech investment come into play. So far, innovation districts, we mainly focus on two specific land ownership. The first one's mainly focus on the private sector land ownership. And that's why we work as a bridger in terms of budgeting. It's purely 100% the private investment, but they use our plan. The second innovation districts, which mainly the government landowner like UT Medical Innovation District in the heart of Bangkok and Suandok Medical Innovation District or University Innovation District that cover the conditions among the local municipal. They mainly focus on the government land. In that sense, we mainly focus on reverse utilizations of physical innovation infrastructure. Before they decided to invest or building a new building, they need to come up with capable innovators or new people to work closely with them. And later they can think about how they invest on a physical infrastructure. So this is the reverse utilization model.
Thank you very much for both of the answers. You've clearly highlighted that to make it successful, you need to have the private sector on board to attract them and to participate financially or completely fund these initiatives of innovation. Now, we are almost at the end of our session, and we have a broad question on from our audience on how to develop science technology parks in developing countries or in less economically advanced economies. So could you perhaps share one suggestion that you will have from your own experience for anyone seeking or considering to set up and develop a science and technology park in a developing country in Asia and the Pacific? So let's start with you, Ivan. One final suggestion or recommendation.
I believe that if the economical conditions, if the government cannot fund a huge greenfield, huge innovation park, and well, it's fine, by the way. I don't think that it's kind of bad or it's a problem. It's also a very nice way. Because you see, greenfields have lots of problems. This that valley that you have to cross when you have this empty techno park and you don't know how to fill it. So it's not kind of the best model. So when you don't have this financial support from government, I think that brownfield is more good way to go. So to grow gradually, to make a couple of projects, to find a couple of business partners, to make some small area, some small infrastructure based on, I don't know, a couple of projects in one technological area, and to grow gradually, step by step. I think that this is to my mind the model. And by the way, lots of technoparks in Russia do so. This is just the case of Skolkovo that I'm presenting because I'm from Skolkovo, but as you saw on the graph, there are 180 technoparks and most of them grow like this. So it's not that, it's not that Russian government is building technoparks like Skolkovo all over the country. No, it's not like this. Many regions in Russia cannot afford to build like 5 huge technoparks from scratch. It's not like this. They have some technology and they gather partners around it, and this is how technoparks grow. I think that this is the way.
Thank you, Ivan. Pun-Arj, would you have any one recommendation to those in developing countries seeking to develop a science and technology park or an innovation district?
I think we need to clarify ourselves whether we will believe on linear models of innovation, which is research, development, and innovation, or you believe in chain link model that you mainly focus on the capabilities of companies or firms. Because in Thailand case, it took us almost 30 years to believe in that linear model and trying to invest in the building that haven't got any people want to use it. And suddenly we start to building a concept of entrepreneurial universities. All research technology organizations start to work closely with private sectors, SME and startup, building up their capability to listen and to learn and to work together. They can use the existing facilities in the regions. And after that, we have around 13 physical infrastructure that we can call it as a science park presently. It took us 30 years to work it virtually and works on the concept of cluster. And then we start to work on innovation district in the cities. We have so many empty buildings after the crisis in 1997. And we start to work closely with the corporate. That's why it's not necessary to be the government-led, but we need to think that whether we believe on research and development and innovation, or we start to think about demand-driven innovation.
Okay, thank you very much, Pun-Arj, for summarizing very well the need to focus on the private sector and to think not in a linear way of innovation, but as a systemic way of innovation, where innovation takes place because of the interaction between different actors from academia and different enterprises. And thank you, Ivan, for telling the different models of promoting or building a science and technology park. And you can build from the infrastructure that you have, and that the most important is to have to focus your attention on building those partnerships or those innovation cooperations. So with this, I would like to really thank our two speakers for briefly sharing with us two different experiences of promoting innovation in a geographical area. Some of the defines their model and some of the challenges that they face and how they've moved forward. I will also like to thank our audience for the very interesting questions that you've put through the chat and the Q&A. And this concludes now our third ARTNET on STI policy conversation. And we will be sending a survey. My colleagues will be putting a link in the chat, and we'll be very happy if you could answer that survey to give us some feedback about this event. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to our fourth conversation on innovation policy, which will take place on the 31st of August next month, and will focus on issues around data sharing. So we all look forward to seeing you then, and we hope you stay safe and well. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
So Marta, thank you very much for organizing this.
Thank you, Ivan. It was a pleasure to have you here. And
thank you.
Thank you so much for all the insights. It brings it to life to be able to hear directly from people with your experience, and to highlight what it could be a science and technology park, but also what's needed to make it really successful. In every case may be different, and I think that was a very strong message, that not all science parks can be built from scratch, and you may need to start from what's already available. So thank you so much, and I wish you a very good luck in continuing developing the park, and I love to hear how it further develops. So thank you so much, Ivan.
Thank you for your activity. I think it's really important, and I wish you luck and I wish you all the best. Please continue it's critical. It's important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.